Imagine this. You live in a peaceful, picture-perfect corner of New England where quiet coastal towns, golden autumn leaves, and centuries-old stories fill the air with charm and tradition. But in the spring of 2025, something terrifying began to spread. It started with 6 bodies in March. By the end of April, that number had doubled to 12. And by May, 13 human remains had been discovered, scattered across Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island. They were found in dark rivers, remote hiking trails, and deep, silent forests. Each crime seemed more disturbing than the last. Each discovery tightening the grip of fear across the region. The internet exploded. Online sleuths, self-proclaimed digital detectives, began to connect the dots. Group chats buzzed with one haunting question: is a serial killer stalking New England? But law enforcement insisted otherwise. There's no connection, they said. No signs of foul play in most cases. So what's the truth? Is this a real-life nightmare unfolding in plain sight, or a wildfire of paranoia and conspiracy fueled by the internet? Let's break down the theories and try to answer one chilling question: what's really happening in New England? March 2025. The nightmare begins. It all started on Thursday, March 6, 2025, when a chill swept through Norwalk, Connecticut. Police discovered the body of Paige Fannin, a 35-year-old hairdresser from Long Island, New York. She had only been missing for 2 days. Her clothes and personal items were found near the banks of the Norwalk River, and then, from the cold, murky water, came her lifeless body. A horrifying start. But just the first lines of a much darker story. That very same day, miles away in Plymouth, Massachusetts, a hunter stumbled upon something haunting: the upper half of a human skull buried beneath rotting leaves deep in the woods. Investigators confirmed it was human and had likely been there for some time. No gender, no age, no time of death, just a bone. And a forest full of secrets. 2 weeks later, a suitcase and a warning back in Connecticut, this time in Groton. A man called police after spotting a suspicious black suitcase near Colonel Ledyard Cemetery. Inside was a gruesome sight: a decomposing female torso, partially wrapped in a garbage bag. The woman was estimated to be between 45 and 65 years old. The message was clear: something terrible was unfolding. Days later, in New Haven, Connecticut, human remains were found near a wooded area behind someone's home. The body belonged to Denise Leary, a 59-year-old woman who had gone missing the previous fall. Her son mentioned she suffered from mental illness and had been acting strangely before her disappearance. Police ruled no evidence of foul play. But was that the full truth? And finally, March 26th, in Foster, Rhode Island, another hiker found the remains of a woman near a remote trail. Like the suitcase victim, she too was wrapped in plastic. The woman was later identified as Michelle Romano, 56. Cause of death unknown. April 2025. The count rises. Any hope for peace vanished in April. On April 9th, in Killingly, Connecticut, another unidentified skeleton was found, raising the count to 7. It turned out to be a man, age 45, who had been dead for a year, marking the first male victim and shattering the previous pattern of female-only cases. Then, on April 22nd, in Springfield, Massachusetts, a woman was found unconscious near a bike path. She later died. Another name. Another death. April 25th, a major breakthrough. Or just one piece. In a press conference on April 25th, Groton police made a major announcement. They had identified the victim in the suitcase, Suzanne Wormser, 58, a local resident. And they had a suspect, Donald Coffe, 68, who also lived in Groton. This wasn't the work of a phantom serial killer. It was a targeted murder. The victim and killer knew each other. Here's how it unfolded. March 19th, Suzanne's body is discovered. April 16th, a tip leads police to Allen Street. April 17th, police search Coffee's apartment, find evidence. April 18th, 2 crime scenes are linked. April 22nd, a second interview and key witness testimony tighten the noose. April 23rd, Coffe confesses. He killed Suzanne with a baseball bat, then dismembered her with a handsaw after a drug-related argument. Evidence was recovered: bat, saw, bloody clothing. Coffe was charged with murder, tampering with evidence, and improper disposal of a body. Police were clear: this case is not connected to the others. On May 9th, Coffe died of late-stage pancreatic cancer in custody. A chapter closed, but the book was far from over. More bodies. More questions. Also on April 25th, more human remains were found in Taunton, Massachusetts. April 27th, in Rocky Hill, Connecticut, a body was spotted by a passing boater in the Connecticut River. The woman found unconscious on April 22nd in Springfield was later identified as Megan Meredith, 45. Officials ruled it a homicide, but again said no link to the other deaths. Then came more fragments of horror. A man's body pulled from the Second River in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. A human leg bone found near Taylor Swift's coastal mansion in Westerly, Rhode Island, heavily weathered, no immediate signs of foul play. One deadly spring and 1,000 unanswered questions in just weeks. 13 bodies surfaced across New England. Some were identified, some not. Some were clearly murdered. Others, we still don't know. A killer was caught, but only for one of the deaths. The rest remain a haunting puzzle, a scattered trail of bones and silence. Is someone orchestrating a cover-up? Is there more than one killer? Or are we just witnessing a tragic cluster of unrelated deaths that collided in the same region at the same time? New England has become a graveyard cloaked in mystery. And the truth, whatever it is, remains buried. Let's take a deep breath and look through the eyes of the experts before we dive deeper into wild theories or online speculation. Let's take a moment to examine this case through the lens of those who know violent crime best, law enforcement and veteran criminal experts. But sometimes, what they say raises more questions than answers. There's one statement we've heard over and over again from local cops to state officials: there is no evidence linking these cases. Not once, not from one source, but echoed from Groton PD, the Connecticut State Police, and the Hampton County District Attorney's Office. Their conclusion? These are isolated incidents, individual tragedies, not the work of a serial killer. But let's be honest. Do you really believe that? To better understand this reasoning, we turn to James Allen Fox, one of America's most respected criminologists, with over 30 years of experience studying serial murder. He offers two key arguments for why this likely isn't the work of a serial killer. 1. No clear victim profile. According to Fox, the victims have nothing in common. They vary in age, gender, race, and physical features. And most importantly, there's no pattern. Serial killers usually have a type, a preferred victim profile. They often leave behind a signature, something consistent that satisfies a compulsion. But here, the deaths seem completely random. There's no calling card, no ritual, no repeat behavior. 2. No consistent dump sites. Fox also points out that the locations of the bodies are far too scattered. A true serial killer tends to return to a familiar dump site, somewhere they know, trust, and can control. But in New England, we've seen bodies in rivers, woods, cemeteries, even near celebrity homes. There's no geographic logic, no comfort zone. That makes it harder, not easier, to believe it's one individual behind them all. Veteran crime journalist Maureen Boyle agrees. She's no stranger to serial investigations, having covered the New Bedford serial killer case. Boyle cautions that geographic clustering doesn't prove connection. Just because bodies are found across the same region doesn't mean they're linked. She also warns that internet theories and conspiracies, however entertaining, can seriously harm grieving families already reeling from loss. No forensic evidence. No matching MO. No common thread. So far, no DNA matches have linked the victims. No shared weapons. No matching wounds. Not even consistent causes of death. And the timelines are just as messy. Some victims disappeared days before being found. Others had been missing for over a year. Even how the bodies were disposed of varies wildly. One dumped in a river. One sealed in a suitcase. One left in the woods. If this is the work of one person, they would be highly chaotic, a rarity among serial killers, who tend to be methodical and follow a pattern. If there were a serial killer, wouldn't they tell us? Finally, law enforcement experts stress this. If there was a serial killer on the loose, the public would be warned. Why? Because that's not just a duty, it's a matter of public safety. So, what's really happening in New England? Are we witnessing a tragic cluster of unrelated deaths in a region known for peace? Or is there something darker, something hidden, lurking behind the silence and the lack of evidence? Is this simply bad timing and coincidence? Or is it a shadow no one dares to name? When the internet becomes the investigator, you know how it goes. When something strange happens, especially in today's hyperconnected world, the internet dives in head first. While law enforcement continues to chant the same refrain, no connection between the cases, thousands of users on Reddit, TikTok, and YouTube are busy connecting the dots. Bulletin boards covered in red string, second-by-second timelines, satellite images, Google Maps screenshots, every detail is picked apart. And from this digital frenzy, four leading theories have emerged. Theory number 1. A serial killer is hiding in plain sight, the most popular and most terrifying hypothesis. Many believe a lone predator, or possibly a group, is actively targeting victims across Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts. Supporters of this theory point to recurring elements. Several victims are middle-aged women, unhoused individuals, or people in vulnerable situations. Many bodies are found near cemeteries, forests, or isolated backroads, the kinds of places that hint at deliberate, ritualistic dumping grounds. Across Reddit and TikTok, users are obsessively analyzing the locations, timing, and conditions of the remains. To them, it's not coincidence. It's the pattern of a predator. Theory number 2. A criminal network or cult is behind it all. This one's darker and even more chilling. Some believe these deaths could be part of a ritual, a purge, or an internal punishment carried out by a secretive cult or underground criminal syndicate operating in the region. Why? The way the bodies are found, the repeated proximity to cemeteries, and the eerie silence from potential witnesses. Some TikTokers have even posted videos pointing out strange symbols near the crime scenes, though none have been officially verified by police. Still, the idea of a message or warning being left behind lingers in the air. Theory number 3. The copycat killer. Others suggest we may be dealing with one or more copycat killers, individuals obsessed with famous serial murderers from the past. Maybe a twisted fan of Zodiac, or someone inspired by BTK, or the Long Island serial killer. They point to similarities in body disposal, like the dismemberment of Suzanne Wormser and the choice of secluded drop sites. Even the type of victims echoes high-profile cases from decades past. The nightmare, they say, is being reborn, one copycat at a time. Theory number 4, nothing at all, just fear and fiction. And then there's the most controversial theory of all. There is no killer. Just a tragic series of unrelated deaths, exaggerated by the internet's thirst for drama. Supporters of this theory highlight that several cases already have confirmed suspects, like Donald Coffe and Edwin Arroyo Roman. There's no shared pattern, no consistent signature, no forensic connection between most of the deaths. This theory echoes the stance of law enforcement and criminologists. Some experts argue that humans are hardwired to seek patterns in chaos, because believing there's one killer gives us a strange sense of control. If I'm not like those victims, we think, then I'll be safe. The danger of conspiracy thinking. Dr. Catherine Ramsland, a respected forensic psychologist, has raised serious concerns about the harm these wild theories can cause. They muddy investigations, they hurt the victims' families, and they often turn real grief into online entertainment. So here we are, caught between reassuring official statements and spine-chilling internet speculation. Do we trust the silence from authorities? Or do we believe the whispers online? Is there really a monster hiding in the dark? Or is it just a shadow we've created out of fear? Let's strip away the fear and turn to the science. We've heard the reassurances from law enforcement. We've explored the internet's wildest and darkest theories. But now, let's take a step back. Let's set aside the fear. Let's ditch the drama and look at this case through the cold, methodical lens of criminal profiling, the same lens used to analyze the minds of BTK, Ted Bundy, and the Zodiac killer. Experts in behavioral analysis have long identified clear rules to distinguish a true serial killer from a series of tragic, unrelated deaths. Point 1. The modus operandi, the killer's method according to the FBI, and experts like Ressler, Burgess, and Douglas. Serial killers almost always stick to a recognizable modus operandi. It gives them a sense of control, a twisted form of ritual satisfaction. Think of Ted Bundy, who lured victims by pretending to be injured, or John Wayne Gacy, who bound and strangled young men using the same method every time. These patterns aren't random. They're intentional. But in New England, we're looking at chaos. Victims have died from drowning, overdose, and physical trauma. Death reads like a completely separate story. And that's deeply inconsistent with how serial killers operate. Point 2. Victim type. The National Center for the Analysis of Violent Crime notes that serial killers tend to target a specific victim type, a demographic that fulfills their obsession or fantasy. Gary Ridgway chose sex workers and runaway girls. Jeffrey Dahmer's victims were young, slender, Black, or Latino men who lived alone. But in the New England case, The victims range from 19 to 60 years old, male and female, across multiple races and backgrounds. Some were unhoused, others had stable lives. Some had mental health issues, others didn't. There's no clear pattern, no ideal victim. And according to criminal psychologists, that level of diversity strongly argues against a single killer. Point 3. The signature FBI profilers John Douglas and Mark Alshaker emphasized the concept of a signature, an action that has nothing to do with killing, but satisfies a psychological compulsion. BTK Dennis Rader posed as victims in grotesque positions. The Zodiac killer left ciphers and strange symbols behind. These weren't part of the kill, they were part of the message. But in New England, we see no ritual, no signature behavior, no post-mortem staging, no symbols, no calling cards. Just fear. And fragments. Each death is terrifying, but unique, with no connecting behavioral trace. Point 4. Body disposal. According to criminologist Stephen Egger, serial killers dispose of bodies in one of 3 ways: keep, display, conceal. For example, Gacy buried victims under his house. The Long Island serial killer placed bodies in the same coastal strip again and again. But in this case, the remains have been found everywhere: rivers, parks, cemeteries, roadside ditches, even storm drains. There's no consistency, no logic, no geographic signature, just a scattering of tragedy. And that's why, through the profiler's lens, what's happening in New England doesn't resemble a serial killer's footprint. It looks more like a chaotic storm of individual losses, tragic overlaps in time and place. But not the product of one calculated hand. And now the conclusion. When we cross-reference the psychological profiles of known serial killers with the strange string of cases in New England, the result was nothing. No match. It simply doesn't line up. We're missing any clear consistency, no pattern in behavior, victims, method of killing, body disposal, not even a shared motive. We're not looking at the profile of a classic serial killer. What we're seeing is a string of isolated tragedies. Scattered deaths, eerie yes, but disconnected. Some of them even have confirmed perpetrators, like in the case of Donald Coffe. Maybe this is just a terrifying coincidence. A series of grim events, all taking place in the same region, during the same time, leading our minds to connect them like pieces of one collective nightmare. I get it. That might disappoint some people, especially those who've gone deep down the rabbit hole of chilling online theories. But let's be clear. The investigations are far from over. Detectives are still on the ground, working tirelessly, tracking every lead, chasing every microscopic clue. And key forensic results are still pending. That means the full picture hasn't emerged yet. New puzzle pieces could surface at any moment, potentially shifting everything we think we know. We also can't rule out the possibility of a highly elusive serial killer. Who's to say someone out there isn't clever enough to defy every known pattern? That question remains open, and only time will tell. For now, the most important thing is to stick to facts and evidence. Spreading baseless rumors and creating unnecessary panic doesn't help the public, and worse, and terrifying events that cast a long shadow over New England. From the moment the first bodies were found to the expert denials, we're still left with more questions than answers. The specter of 13 unidentified deaths still lingers, and these mysteries will take time to unravel. Who knows, maybe someday I'll return with part 2 with new facts and even more shocking revelations. Drop your theories and thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the next strange and disturbing case. See you in the next video.